We're travelling through outlying areas of the European Union to see how the mood is among Ukrainians. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians live here, most of them for generations, but they still have relatives and friends in Ukraine. Our first destination is Mikula, a village in Romania just 5 kilometers from the border to Ukraine. Vasile Buchuta and Fedor Oneish earn a living from woodcraft, like most of the Ukrainians here.
We're already working on the assumption that people will flee here from Ukraine and we'll take them in. I don't believe in war, but President Putin has to understand that Ukraine belongs to Ukrainians, not Russia.
We leave the border between Romania and Ukraine. Here it's still business as usual. Our next destination is Hungary, about 100 kilometers farther north. Nyíregyháza is the largest city near the border. Most Ukrainians immigrated here after the fall of the Iron Curtain. On Sundays, they meet in the local Orthodox church. Here they find comfort in times of crisis and pray for the safety of their Ukrainian neighbors.
I'm frightened because I have relatives in Ukraine. I feel deeply for them and what they're doing. I hope things calm down and become peaceful again. All people want is a quiet and peaceful life.
The large supermarket chains lie on the outskirts of Nyíregyháza. There we meet people who have crossed the border from Ukraine. Right now they can still travel to the European Union with a visa. Usually they come to do some shopping.
In Ukraine, there are calls to boycott Russian products that have been imported to Ukraine. But we can't yet see what effect that will have on our shops in Ukraine. Right now, the stores are well supplied, thank goodness.
After their visit, the Ukrainians return home. Despite the crisis, none of them are staying in Hungary or planning to emigrate to EU countries. We go on to Prešov in Slovakia, a town in the east of the country. Ukrainians have lived here for centuries. Relations with their Slovak fellow citizens are good. Pavel Bogdan has Ukrainian roots. He's involved in a cultural exchange project between Ukraine and Slovakia. Because of the crisis, funding for the cross-border project is threatening to run out. But his fears lie in another direction.
I'm afraid that if Crimea split from Ukraine, it could create a precedent that Ukraine could break up. There are separatist movements in other regions as well as Crimea. They could gain impetus from a Crimean secession. I'm very worried.
Our last stop is Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. In the city on the Danube, the Interior Ministry is already preparing for a possible wave of refugees from Ukraine.
We're ready to take in 1,000 Ukrainian refugees in a first step. We could immediately put them in asylum seekers' accommodation on the border. If that's not enough, our armed forces could set up tents for about 10,000 people.
On our trip, we've discovered that the mood is surprisingly sober and relaxed. But everywhere, there's a great amount of fear that Ukraine could eventually disappear from the map.